my testimony. Now, this testimony isn't exactly all mine, you see. My salvation wasn't exactly my idea. I have sin written on my bones and flowing through my blood, and I chose to choose, and in choosing, I chose to participate in sin, and then I became broken, like the rest of the world. This testament is a testament about God's love. My name is Grace, and next I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I was raised. My parents, they loved me so much, but they were broken too. And in between their arguments and fights, I began to believe that something with me wasn't quite right. With all the struggle and all this doubt, I began to believe that I wasn't enough. I was the odd one out. And my parents said all they had for me was love, but I didn't believe that I was good enough. Good enough. That kind of became my motto. I based every single belief that in order to be loved, I had to achieve. So I took all these broken pieces and I began to build a wall to hide behind, and I lost sight of the truth and then became blind. I filled myself with a self-righteous sense of pride as I began to believe these self-told lies. I was hurting, but I didn't know why, and I thought I just had to reach higher. And along the way, some people I love made some mistakes, and it made me question everything about my worth. Like, is proving myself to them going to be enough, Girth? Like, am I going to be enough? Because I want to be loved, and that's how it happens, right? Right? And thank God he had a plan, because otherwise this would still be my story. And that day started out like any other, except I had an argument with her. And the next thing I know, she's broken in a coma and had a seizure. They brought us back to say goodbye, but there was nothing there behind those eyes. All there was an empty body that I couldn't even recognize. That day I saw the emptiness of life. And those walls, God brought them down with a single crash. And remember all those lies? God took those scales off my blinded eyes as I stood there with this reality, standing in the rubble of the person I tried to create. There was nowhere to go and nowhere to hide. I tried to ignore this and bury myself again. Kept trying to cover myself up in old sin, like it was some kind of comfort blanket that dulled the weight of this new found truth and healthy hate. I kept trying to carry this struggle, every hurt, every lie, all this pain, asking why. My mom came home, but she was still so sick, and I just couldn't even fix it. And my dad was home, but he was a million miles away, and there was nothing I could do and nothing I could say. Everything bubbling inside my head. Then something came out of something a youth group video said. I know, right? But it was a picture of eternity next to me. I didn't even measure. I was a grain of sand compared to a million universes. And I realized that there was nothing I could do that wouldn't be as empty as I was. And as I began to look around, I saw that there was no joy outside of God's guiding hand. And I remember when the light went off inside my head and I fell forward, crying out to God, sitting there on my bed. And I remember knowing that if I couldn't have him, there was no point, because there's no joy and no love and no happiness outside of him. You see, I'd been so busy trying to find something that made my life worth living that I hadn't realized that I was already dead. And looking there at that mirror, I realized that there wasn't anything behind these eyes. I was an empty body that God wouldn't have even recognized on Judgment Day. And I finally saw my brokenness and sin. I finally accepted that I wasn't enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't funny enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't good enough. But he was. And the first time I experienced unconditional love, and it was more than enough. And those broken pieces that I'd built into a wall and then came falling down like ground zero, totally level. God said, I'm the master potter and I can fix this broken vessel. And my struggles didn't end there. As I started to trust and build a relationship, it was hard to understand and to really get, but just a taste of his love, I had to have more. I'm finally living for something worth dying for. And to close this account of God's healing power, allow me to sum up this poetic end of hour. Sin and truth will always clash, and your body is worth nothing more than dust and ash. And if you're not living for him, giving your everything to him, then you're already dead, my friend. You are in the morgue. His love is greater than anything, and I used to be a lost sinner, but now I'm righteous and I'm redeemed. And I guess the whole point of this, if you're not living for him, there really isn't one. Thank you for watching, guys.